It was a close map of Ascent between the two teams, but as Galorys, you get the win 13-11. Welcome back, everybody, to Valorant Ascension. And it was a back and forth, especially to close it out. It seems like that comeback was going to take place for RETA Roy, but once again, denied on that last round. Of course, it had to be that fake comeback.
The fake comeback, it always makes its way into every single match, Triad. But that, I can't help but feel like Galorys has been sort of baiting this map this entire tournament. The level of prep, their versatility in their setups, their versatility in the approach on the attack side, the tactical depth that they've shown on this map, this was not a fluke by any means for Galorys.
It's nice to see for this team as well that we're trying to find Emily, and they were able to at least get this win. You can see the confidence, especially as they were closing that map out.
Yeah, Dry, before the game you were talking about Sato's op, and I felt like that was a problem for RETA. They weren't using the proper util to kind of flesh him out, maybe a scan here and there, but that was about it. And then I was also saying how on their attacking side that they weren't really working mid. Today, they were doing a really good job on splitting, working the mid, and just overwhelming RETA because they had a lot of util. How many times did they retake? Looking at their post plans here, 5 out of 7 is how many times they were able to hold a site. But retaking, I felt like they had all the util in the world. They had all the smokes ready to go, all of the scans, all of the meshes, and ultimately RETA just couldn't really hold down the post plants too well.
In a way, Roy, it feels like both of the teams that were trying to play their own game, but as we go back into something that we talked about towards the beginning, this deadlock composition is really strong, especially when you have Urango on that side that is popping off, and it's allowing the team to do whatever they want on that defensive side.
Yeah, it's always good to have a player like Urango on the team that can flex to so many different roles and still have this level of impact in terms of utility and in terms of kills, which is awesome to see. But a part of me, again, I do want to place a little bit of emphasis on the fact that Galorys, it looks like they were struggling at first versus RETA. RETA was doing a great job in that first half, utilizing the KO to counter the Sentinels. But then there is so much problem solving happening from the Galorys side where they were able to move the Sentinels off site, but keep the utility on the site. So they're playing cross map, they're dropping their utility, and then that way the KO, when it was time to hit the sites, it wasn't scanning any of the Sentinels, and they were able to easily hold down the sites. That is a level of problem solving that many teams struggle with in the moment.
Snowzine here has more first kills than Urango, obviously, because he's on deadlock. But we were highlighting Luck Show before the match. And looking at the scoreboard here, he didn't have to do much because he had two teammates, Urango and Sato, that were just holding down the fort, doing their job. So Luck Show just had to lay back and enjoy the ride for this game.
I also like that this is a map that, as we mentioned before, we haven't seen for Galorys on Ascension just yet. This is the first time that they play it, and it was very clear that they had a plan A, B, and C, and how they were going to deal with Snowzin with the operator, and how they were going to work out around this composition. So it seems like it was very nice, but a big part of that impact was, as we mentioned, this deadlock of Urango was constantly being a nuisance, not only in the kills department, but also on the utility that we saw right and left. The ultimates, maybe not the ones that you see shining the most, but you see the effort for everything else and the utility as well for Roy to make this happen.
Yeah, you can definitely see the vision, but yeah, mechanically Urango today showed up. There's just so many layers to the way he was playing. Obviously, some of the utility, some of the ultimates could be a little bit better, I will not deny, but the vision was there. I just think it was just highly unlucky. But I think going into the second map of Bind, this is where things will get very interesting, because the problem solving that we saw from Galorys on this first map is not going to be as strong in the second map, where they should have a game plan, because there's no more question marks, right? Both teams have information on each other. We're going into a map where the compositions are clearly known. Very similar compositions, by the way, if you are curious. It's Gecko Fade on one side versus the Gecko Sky on the other. So the Galorys is running the Gecko Fade, by the way, and Sky's on the Brazilian side, or sorry, Sky's on the RETA side. But this, again, there should be a level of prep. There should be no real mind games. They shouldn't have to be problem solving too much in game, because they do have access to each other's map pool here.
As you mentioned, it is much more comfortable now on the side of RETA, because they're not playing this attacking map of Ascent that can be so annoying to work around, especially with Deadlock and the Cypher that we saw on the other side. This is a map of Bind that they're very comfortable with, they found success with in the past, but it is the map pick of Galorys, and this is a Galorys, Emily, that, as we've mentioned, they need to get this win to have a chance to make it to playoffs, and they could also close it out in 2.
Yeah, like you said, they need it. They gotta go hard or they're gonna be going home. And that's why I think they picked Vine. This is a map where you can control how you want to pace the game. And I was looking at the history, and historically both of these teams are 50-50 on Vine. So it's kind of an interesting choice. But again, Vine is a really good map to control the pace. So I think that's why they picked it. And both teams also have not won a bind map yet during group. So obviously they picked it for a reason. And I think it's mainly what I was saying. They're going to be able to control the pace of how they want to play the game.
I think sometimes the answer is actually even more simple than that. I just think that they just went on VLR, looked at RETA's bind stats. Oh, they got 13-6 by TSM. Oh, they got 13-2 by 2 game. Yeah, we'll probably can take them on that. And the only loss that Galorys has in this series was against TSM in overtime. So I think just looking at these stats and just raw, I think you probably feel confident going into bind because you look like the clear favorite here.
There's a big difference, as you mentioned, for the scores that they've gotten and the times that we've gotten the chance to see both the teams play this map of Vine. So that can also shape out how this map is going to go and also how much you're able to reset from that first map for both of the teams, honestly, because it was so close. But once again, a reminder for everybody, there is a giveaway for Blacklight. You can get one of the Blacklight Ultimate Gaming chairs, so make sure you scan that QR code or you check out the message that's pinned in the chat to see how you can get one of those gaming chairs. And as we go back into that conversation, yeah, we were saying this map of Vine, based on the reset of the momentum, based on the reset of making sure that you can win it and close it out in 2 for Galorys, is so important. Roy, again, they're gonna finish this match no matter more than anything, winning this match if they're able to make it happen, and they're gonna be watching stressed out to see if they can make it far, and all the other scores will go their way. But for RETA, is more in their hands. You need to win the second map. You need to win this third map and push it all the way until the end.
Yeah, I do think it's a little bit funny that if Galorys wins this, both teams are going to be watching the rest of this tournament just stressing out of their minds. I think that is partially funny. But I think the agents are ready here for bind. Again, I don't really expect to see anything of crazy changes. Yeah, there it is. The fade on the Brazilian side and the sky on the RETA side. So I think, yeah, again, this is really going to come down to, in my opinion, the same strength that we saw from Galorys on Ascent. They were very explosive, guys. They were able to walk up into spaces. They were able to kind of do these set plays, these set executes onto sites very flawlessly, in my opinion. And they look clean doing it on the Galorys side, of course, I'm talking. And now we're going into bind, a map that is sort of like that. You take showers, you take long B, you take hookah, and from these positions, you're running these set executes. And this is something that Galorys has shown to be doing quite well in the last map.
Emily, I want to know, do you think we're going to go to a third map, or is Galorys going to close it out with this?
God, that's a really good question. Towards the end of map 1, I felt like RETA was just getting more hyped up, more warmed up. So I kind of feel like we're going to go to map 3 only because I'm a little bit biased, but I think I like Sky better than Fade for this map.
Okay.
And you can play around your rays a little bit better, in my opinion. Again, that's how I prefer to play, but I think that we might be able to go to map 3.
Maurice has always looked very, very comfortable on this Sky. They've tried different things in the past, not specifically on this map, but in general. But you can tell that Maurice really likes playing this Sky. So I'm excited to see if RETA is going to be able to push us to the map number 3, make sure that the destiny is in their hands, or we're going to see that Galorys take it 2-0. Let's find out with their casters is Shiv and Vance.
Yeah, I mean, hey, this is an interesting matchup simply due to the fact because it is the difference of, you know, what are you going to get out of your initiators? That is really, I think, the only big kind of fringing point that we've seen. Again, mutual opponent. So, you know, some results that you can look at and say maybe stronger for one team or the other, but a loss is a loss, I think, at the end of the day. And there is something to be said about not wanting to drop 0-2 here, especially with the impending multi-team tiebreaker that's at hand here, Vance.
Yeah, and now RETA starting on the attack and already pivoting into an A-side split. But with this composition, it allows for the defenders to push quite aggressively. There's already a triple flank happening, flipping the map on the defensive side as we'll play a 5 versus 5 close plan.
Maurice, a little late off the action. Gets caught by surprise by Sato. Nags does well over towards UL. Deltic in the corner, not able to take care of the vast majority of this defensive retake. Dizzy making life a little bit difficult for his teammates for a moment, but things are fine, as now it's just down to what Nags and Snow can find over the backside of the U-Haul, and nice little blast pack at the feet pushes him up, boops him around, breaks the aim, and Galorys will take the opening pistol.
I like the adaptation, at least for RETA, going into that post plant. They realized here, after the first one dies into short, that there's 2 players pushing, at least in his POV. There was actually 3 for Galorys. So what does RETA do instead? The 2 players that are behind towards U-Haul, they try to push back towards the spawn just to make sure that they could annihilate and take away the utility controlled by Urango on a retake here as this Gecko. But unfortunately here, Sato seems to be very activated since this first map, and he was pristine here on that flood back into the U-Haul and fight all of this back. And this brings a big question here, Shift. The fact that they actually left Blind in this map for RETA is quite interesting, because it was a map that they picked against 2G, and they only got 2 rounds. This round and second round, they lost 13 rounds in a row.
Yeah.
That was something that happened in day 1, so it was a while ago, but now that it's fresh back in the memory, it's going to instill a lot of doubt into, okay, what does RETA have prepared this time around? Roy talked about preparation between both of these teams. For me, it's more about fine-tuning around RETA on this map.
Well, that'll start things off nicely. Just a little pop over through mid. That was a mosh being held onto by Urango that just gets completely counteracted just thanks to the opening shot. Nags will be healed back up to full health, at least relatively close to full health. There we go. Top him off. And now the rotation's on. Snow does have a Marshall to play with. Definitely something to kind of clear corners as you make your way over and decide if you want to challenge this defensive Viper's wall.
Yeah, the only thing that's missing here on the attacker's Viper wall after Nagza gets that pick is the lack of an orb, it looks like, into U-Haul. So you could actually try to stay anchored up here for Sato and really try to hold the aggressive line and be more reactive on the side. So he will keep playing alone towards, oh my gosh. Nagza continues to open things up here for RETA, and it's making it a winning possibility for the Latin side.
Well, that's a really good snake bite, plus the elimination onto the wingman. Means that the defense can't start to commit on over, but the problem is they've lost Luke Show inside the site. Sato trying to rotate in, and he actually catches 2 on the exit. Oh my goodness, just when you thought that was going to be able to pull the spike, teleport over and have a free A site. Now it's just down to a 2v2 where there's just classics being held on to for RETA's post plan.
All of the guns that were left behind here for the pick, I mean, there was a Spectre that was the easiest one to pick up after the openers from Nagzit. But this is a saving grace as Sato gets a 2K and a chance to turn around back in favor of Galorys to convert here the anti-eco.
What a decision just to try to peek and poke, and that turns into 2. Paint shells out. Got to tap away the classic. Decent damage from Redis. Follow from Sato, very easy, but Delzik! What? From around the back, he does get that Spectre like you called it. What a difference maker that becomes as he finds the final 2.
Oh my god, man. It was part of the plan all along. Just leave that Spectre after getting that pick and U-Haul it, and then it'll become the saving grace to win it towards the end. A nice little 180 towards the end. And again, when it comes down to the synergy maybe lacking on how things could maybe happen on the hits for the team on the side of RETA, you always have the experience of these players. And it came to Nags with the openers, with the Sheriff, then over to Delzik to clutch it out towards the end. Pulling up the big boy pants and saying, hey guys, we could actually get it done. We'll keep this game close. Eco back in favor of Galorys, but they have a showstopper to work with. Unfortunately here, Shift, it's a little bit too far out to go for a trap play to where RETA is currently positioned on a B-side lean.
Oh my gosh, that was sick. To put it plainly, that was absolutely sick. Okay. Oh. Once again, 1 tap's coming through. Opening first blood, counteracted almost immediately. Stay 4v4. Nags. Evil's been antsy on this angle, and I believe Nags may have seen a toe. But Urango from the front is good. Oh, angle a little bit off for a moment for Nags. Takes a lot of damage, but can move back over to Maurice and get himself at least back to 100 HP. Problem is, Sato's got a showstopper, and that could be a major difference maker in this round.
The thing is right now, though, I did like the push from Rude outside of the teleporter, but now he pushed all the way out towards short at market, so this leaves a gap. A map like Blind RETA maybe will decide to go for a TP and work back towards the A side as they group up for the heal. But if they commit into this B site, Sato is 100% going to use a showstopper.
Double blast pack at 30 plus the boom bot. If they need to confirm some information, a slow lurk from Rude back over towards Hookah. What decision does Sato want to make? Takes the guiding light to the chest. Shakes it off. Now the smoke is down. Showstopper is out into the corner. Finds at least a 1-for-1. Gives a chance here to Rude, but he's just got a classic. Over the right click! He catches Maurice trying to pull out some sort of utility. Oh my goodness, he just pushes into his own smoke, and it's just a double right click to win the round. What is happening?
That is too good there. Torsi and the reads coming up from Rude.
Scotch. Out of charges.
Sato's having fun for sure. But that was all off the back of Ruango with that 3K with the Sheriff. In the open, you saw just as he died, his position in front of the Radio Knight boxes, repositioning every single time, and the mistake that you have there from RETA for trying to peek back one-on-one to just try to fight back. Hey, we have Vandals to work with. We can play against the Sheriff. Let's just try to beat it. But it's Ruango playing close range to be able to guarantee the headshots and confirming the kills, giving a chance for Galorys to turn it back in their favor.
Unbelievable. Wow.
Yeah, this is going to be this type of game.
Yeah, it feels that way. And you know what? I'm here for it. Give me some chaos. Give me some unpredictability. Full weapons for Galorys. Still formidable, though, is RETA. Bucky, Vandal. Oh, and here comes the Bucky right down Main Street, and whoa. Doesn't quite connect for as much of a chunk as you would have thought on the first nor the second. So first blood comes through. Sato still alive, if only barely, and he's just going to step on into the Viper pit, take down Nags. Are you kidding? So now all of a sudden, you've got the defense looking strong. Dizzy over the top really doesn't do too much this defensive setup. And yeah, the poke from Evil is good to at least deny the spike from being recollected.
Dude, Sato so far has been at the right place at the right time for these openers and given a chance for Galorys to just not give any breathing room for RETA. There was a chance there as they moved inside the pit to get the plan, and you saw from the positioning from the defensive side, or sorry, from the attacking side, that they really wanted to try to play an aggressive pulse plan inside that pit. Because as soon as that went down, a lot of players were out in the open and got caught, unfortunately. But it almost looks like right here, I don't know if we're going to catch it. We're not going to catch it in this replay, but when Sato got hit here by Snowzine satcheling in, it almost felt like the Bucky gave him a knockback and allowed for him to survive in the back of the U-Haul, and then he double up to get the kill. But that was just a nice little push through smoke to get that pick on to Nagzet. So that is the pit down, and thankfully, though, it was a lower buy that we had from RETA, so they have an opportunity to fight back within this gun round and going more for a default, trying to maybe listen up if we're trying to prioritize orbs on extremities, because you know you're close to the orbital strike. Rude is already there with Sato. They're just going to try to hold that angle and try to play that clock while Nagzet, with his experience, is going to do the same thing. So pressure on that side, trying to see if you can tap an orb on the audio on that side too. And Nagzet, if he enters and takes control of Showers, we could go for a late TP back for an A hit. But all of that is a stalemate after an exchange of utility on the B side long.
I actually love the decision making there for Galorys just to kind of let that happen and not even bother with the contest, because you're really just waiting for a commit, and then the Thrash is right there to deny.
Agreed.
It's not one of those let's hunt for information with the Thrash and hope we catch somebody. So really, it's kind of a little bit of a stalemate. Nobody uses anything, nobody gains anything, nobody loses anything.
Well, they gain a showstopper with the orb.
Yeah, that's the only other thing, is that it gives you entryway back over. And how about Nags by himself, eliminating and isolating over towards Showers. Brilliant play coming through. The wingman will get the glory of being able to plant the spike, and now it's a 5v3.
Patience and experience once again from Nagzet, finding the timing after the execution of the RETA, so that he can come through and get the backstab kill after both. So far, superstars for Galorys' side that gives him this lead. Sato falling down.
Hold on a second, though. If Maurice falls, the Thrash is already at the right. They're going to use this, and they don't even need to actually hit it onto him, so you can recollect the Thrash. Luke Show doing his job now. Thrash not on the other side, but now it's Day06's turn, but it's immediately countered out. Now the Nightfall comes through. Nags is going to have to try to make a play, and he's completely decayed out. It's Evil for 4. What an unbelievable play from Galorys. Just enough time for the defuse, and they're going to go 4-1.
Oh my god, and not any chaos going in with the Sheriff, but the chaos in terms of how things have been so good for them right now, for both of these teams. They played a 3 versus 5 retake and convert that into a victory on the defensive side, all down to a crucial kill that Evil kick to have a Fade ult. And you saw the mind games that came through. He goes for the Nightfall, taps onto the spike, and then just goes out of position. The reason why is because you won't hear the tap while you're being deafened by the nightfall, so you're gonna have to move forward and try to look for the visual cue if there's actually somebody sticking onto the spike, and it plays a slight off angle, wins that 1v1. Galorys is now ahead by 3. Talking about hero moments from both Sato and Rude, but just like Emily was mentioned before, the whole roster of Galorys has their moment to shine.
Oh, but how about this? RETA offensively break apart the B setup with stingers and an orbital strike. Healing also gets them back to at least 100 health, and this makes life very difficult for the side of Galorys. But Rude, if he can find one, maybe he gets an orbital strike, but there it is. Just comes down to, is there enough time to actually pop this and break down this post plant setup? May not be worth it. Evil's a bit stuck at the moment. They're trying to find him an exit over towards the backside of screens, but you're gonna have to cross through some very open ground here. That's not gonna feel good. So Evil on the corner, well, he'll get denied. Snow turns the Bucky into a Vandal plus, finds the kill on to Rude. Brilliant bounce back from RETA, only dropping 1 in the process.
Yeah, and that Stinger rush going in with the orbital strike was really the starting point here of how they just stayed as a death ball, and we weren't really ready for that on the side of Galorys. Tried to play really tucked in within the container and dance around the hit that may happen with the Stinger, but they didn't put into account the orbital strike. It may look surprising here into the repeat that you saw from Rude back towards the spawn, but you saw just there before we go into these headshots, there were still a lot of economy left available here for Galorys.
Yep.
Go for a buy, a push down towards short.
Oh, Sato through all of the toxins, still able to connect onto 1. So Nags is out of the picture. That is a huge loss for RETA in terms of being able to separate the A side. Do they have to just give this up and try to play for Sky Smoke breakdowns at B?
Might have to, because as soon as he gets this pick here for Sato, he went for a boombot right into Hookah, and it doesn't spot anything. So doesn't force the early rotate over from the defensive side of Galorys. They could still stronghold a 3-man site hit, but they have to turtle back a little bit more. The orbital strike still available for Rude that could delay even more. Things are not looking good right now for RETA to really gain good map control on the execution towards what seems to be the A site for now, because there's absolutely no control towards the B side to really have a safe TP.
I mean, really
hit the B site.
Yeah, the only real execute they have is to drop all 3 smokes and then throw a guiding light into the corners. Yeah. And they're going to use 1 just to try to block off the truck for a peek for Snow. So now you only have 2 smokes left. These are going to be spent likely to block those 2 choke points, but problem is you've lost some of your entry power. Snow will drop. Deltic stays alive. There's those smokes. And that'll be enough to try to work their way back in towards the site with Seekers to supply as the support. Sato trying to challenge this. Messy through the Sky Smoke as the wingman does get the spike planted. We're going to stay 3v4 and a reset to the post plant.
The dog went in and got information on at least the Gecko. One towards Heaven.
I mean, follow up from Sato as the smoke drops. Headshots galore, but what an opening beam from Luke Show at Heaven. Wow. Unreal stuff. And that turns it all of a sudden into a 5-2 tally. Again, good first blood conversion success rate for Galorys here.
That's off Sato so far, just continuing to push forward without really any type of support util around there. There's no fake dog, there's no Dizzy being thrown that gives his position away. He's just continuously walking through, getting an opener, and satcheling away to safety. And already, always at the beginning of these rounds, within like 10 to 15 seconds, there's a 5-4 advantage for Galorys. They almost converted over on that side of RETA though, and it's almost been that story so far. The scoreline that we currently see of a 5-2 doesn't necessarily dictate what has really been happening throughout this whole game, because RETA has been doing a really good job of having hero moments where they could turn it around in their favor, but they just lack a little bit of positioning towards that pulse plan, especially in that last round, because we mentioned Rude with the orbital strike. He got instantly picked as he got 1 kill there onto short, so that's no orbital strike for delay. Seeker's got enough information, but then right after that, the dog that goes towards spawn, you have one player that's stuck inside a dog. Nobody could really react on the positioning of where they're currently at to play these off angles to play against a retake of where Elise was known for 2 members of Galorys rotating back from the spawn, and unfortunately it just falls short for RETA. So this is an important timeout because this is once again another moment where they need to fine tune. It looked pretty good in terms of the macro and how they're able to set up for these post plants. Or sorry, at least go for these site executions. And now it's just trying to make sure that they're able to shut down Sato, avoid Sato, and then now having to avoid Luke Show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Luke Show has a chance of shine now.
Well, Galorys have looked much improved, at least thus far on the defensive side, compared to what they were doing versus TSM. And it really doesn't feel like they've done anything too crazy. It's just better discipline, I think, more than anything else. You know, more cohesion around the call that's being made. This time it's going to be aggressive with a showstopper right behind the Prowler towards Showers. No one's home, though. And all of a sudden, you look towards Yorango and say, all right, brother, find yourself a battleground to stand on because you're about to be in a 1v everybody situation.
Controlling Hookah is huge here. A big battle between Yorango and Maurice. Going for a solo play. I thought
like
trying to clear Sands, allowing a TP to happen, but now he goes for the aggressive push. This is great, but there's a wraparound for Maurice in this post plant.
The thing about this, though, is, again, there's no support from Sands, so Galorys can just walk in, but finding two is a bloody miracle. Page Shell's also finding value. Suther will drop to it. Nag's trying to hang on through deep, but they have to contest the spike. Evil's already on it. He's got support around him. How about Root for the opener, and then the double swing to finish it off? It's not going to feel like the most incredible heroic moment, but Yorango winning out Hookah and holding on to that a little while longer, pushing out RETA's offense to Sands, massive because this post plant doesn't have the ability to stay on site.
And also not giving a chance for Maurice to have even more Sky utility to help the players within that site.
Absolutely.
Sure. And you're absolutely right. For them to just focus on coming back and flooding through the spawn, they could just focus on site. They could focus on back container and also just flood in through elbow where they could focus on that spot too and not have to look at the extra vertical angle back into Hookah because that was already controlled by Yorango. So yes, definitely a win in terms of the positional battle of how Galorys is positioned in that post plant rather. Luke Show is potentially trying to jump spot. I don't know if he's going to pit right away if he sees somebody there because it's going to come down to if RETA instantly temples up behind us.
Well, there's the other issue is that there's a thrash involved. But Yorango still gets one. That's off the long flank over towards Stance. Delzik has to hold his ground, but he does well. Wingman gets involved. Boombot tried to follow up. But it's Sato who collects the kill. Luke Show, another over towards elbow, plus the absolute blistering lockdown in place means that it's just down to Nags, and he gets caught looking the wrong direction. Galorys defensively looking immaculate at the moment.
Yeah, and another nice little attempt by RETA after realizing that double flank coming in from Sands. They try to push out towards elbow to try and close the area. So you know there's always somebody that's going to stay cool in that moment, and it's going to be Luke Show. He's already watching the angle, and at the same time has support from Evil Kick if the contact play is there and he misses the shot. They're funneling RETA so well into their traps, and they're just spinning it quite well. And if you're going into these pushes into elbow, you're losing that. We're like, okay, well, we don't have a choice but to play a pulse fight within the site. Well, we've seen what Galorys is able to do so far this whole series on the retake so far.
First blood goes the way of Yorango again. Evil, and that's free. He sees all the information. I just... Oh, okay. Forced play by Delzik. Doesn't matter. Wow, dude. I mean, RETA has nothing to work with. Now, again, you don't expect them to work with much in this round, but it's the fact that they still can't cleanly even find a 1v1 anywhere on the map.
But that's the thing. It should have been a 2v1 this
Sure.
because of the situation that we're in. A bunch of Urabai. Look at how Snowzine walks up first. The second one walks in. The third one runs in finally with a stinger to get that pick. But then you have nobody else to support you for the actual hit to at least try to get a plant down. So they need to be a little bit more grouped up here on these type of plays. Maybe not now when you have rifles. I would respect that for players that are playing it more solo. I mean, Nag said, everybody has the aim to be able to do so and win these 1v1s. But in those moments when you have stingers and shares, I'd much prefer a buddy system if you already intended to have 3 players walk up towards Sands and take control of Hookah to start.
Well, the problem into this round, regardless of map manipulation aside, Viper's Pit's locking down B long. Thrash has now made its way over to play around A, and you've got a double focus play over towards Showers, so Murray's already back off. I mean, once again, Galorys is just in a power position, but a good kind of gut check flash comes out. That's enough for Maurice to play his own life and still find one. Did they expect that Rude played up, though? No, they don't. And that, again, just continues to dominate map control for the side of Galorys.
Because the jiggles that we saw from Maurice only played that 1v1 against Sato, and we mentioned it before. Sato plays these positions alone usually, so they inserted Rude, gets that pick, another orb, one away from an orbital strike. That's a nice little selfless play by Galorys towards the end. It looked like an overheat, but there was a method behind the madness.
Oh, and wouldn't you know it? I was going to say, for a second, Rude actually sidesteps the showstopper, but Delzik watches the back and finds the pick. So now Delzik can reinforce his post plant by way of a orbital strike if things get messy. Nightfall is ready if they want to pop it. Haunt denied. Nose playing over towards bench. Dizzy up and over. That maybe tags one. Luke Show looking for some sort of a cross. There's the Prowler. That reaches the player on the bench, but the crossfire setup is perfect, and RETA will get themselves a third round.
And those, again, when it comes down to weaponry and these 1v1s, you could trust that a team like RETA could win those. That flick that we saw there from Suther to take control towards U-Haul was a nice little start that really initiated a beautiful crossfire in the end in the post plant. Yes, you're playing a 3 versus 2. You're at a disadvantage at this point for Galorys' retake, but they have been winning so many rounds in a row. The economy, even I think some of them are 9K, even losing this round. So pushing through, trying to stay within the buddy system, trying to keep the economy low here for RETA, to not give him a chance to close this off in an 8-4 scoreline. And Sato once again is about to do some Sato things, holding on the other side of the Viper as well to watch the short while it's smoked on the right side. And RETA understands this early aggression that comes out of Sato. They're going to wait that smoke out from the Brimmy. So that's 20 seconds that's burned on the defensive side. You'll take it at least for Galorys because you're winning the time battle on the defensive side.
Absolutely you are. And there's just so much reinforcement here, not just by numbers, but also by what ultimates could potentially be played. Evil says, no Boombot, not today. This is my hookah position. Poison Cloud up and over. Good look at what that is isolating towards that backside at U-Haul. Prowler sent through Sands on the defensive side. Smoke replaces. So again, that Poison Cloud gets countered and Galorys still own the map. It's just down to how does this fight go? Because it's going to be fast, it's going to be furious, it's going to be a 5-on-2 in the middle. And if this ends up going poorly, Ozzy Thrash may actually not even be popped at all, but instead it actually gets used early. Plus the detainment with the orbital strike. Oh, what a combination! Dizzy also follows up. The read is perfect. It's just down to Maurice. He does well to catch the first. Seekers are out, but he can't get the gun up in time. What a beautiful play by Galorys. The timing is absolutely exquisite.
Switching sides.
And that, again, another position where you think that Sato's going to be overheating. But there is, once again, the method behind the madness. If there was actually players pushing within that smoke, he would have played enough time to give a chance here for the Urango to come out with the thrash, and the orbital strike gets hit towards rugs, towards carpet, towards the A-choke. But instead, he went through the smoke. He holds that timing. He gets 2 on the right. He could focus on the fight on the left and just not give a chance here for RETA to really get a nice split towards the A site. And unfortunately, another one of those moments where RETA is playing without trying to really gain too much map control. It's make noise, cut noise, and re-hit, and pivot back to where they really haven't figured out what the position of their opponents were. No, and you saw how Nagzo was a little bit scared there towards short.
Could you count on more than 2 fingers the amount of times that RETA held on to either hookah or showers? Because I can't.
Yeah.
Everything was down B main or through A mid.
And that's what you were mentioning before too here, Shift, is despite the amount of util that's being thrown on the attack set of RETA, there was really no counter aggression coming back from Galorys because they have the good strong side, right? If there wasn't a second wave or anything being utilized on that B side, they're like, okay, well, you don't need to over-rotate. Let's just trust the foundation and the strat that we had for this round and just commit to what we have. Again, because they know that they could trust how good they've been on his retakes and how good Sato's been in terms of activating at least for 1 kill before it goes into a site hit to give a chance for his remaining members on a strong side to fight within that site. So aim is definitely on point so far for the Galorys side. And what a turnaround so far, if you're looking at it from the story of Galorys, Shift. They started 0-2 really in this group stage, and they're about to potentially make it across and try to stay alive here in this matchup. If they win this one here, they are going to be at 2-3. RETA would also be at 2-3. You might have a quintuple tie going through, but at least if it comes down to head-to-head, this is going to be Galorys going over RETA at this point.
Yep. Again, map count's going to be a thing. Round differential may be a thing. There's so much that is going to be into play here because, again, we're going to have tiebreaker situations without question.
Oh yeah, yeah. Make sure, Chad, you follow RKT. I think it's RKT Caster. He's got a full sheet getting ready to let you guys know, but we'll follow the action now.
Decent moment. Nag just pulls the offense back into touch. Back and forth we go, but it's Galorys who have the final say in the battle for B. Dizzy also will be collected. Evil with the plant 3v2. And it's just down to Suther and Snow. They're going to try to split hit this for the retake, and that's not great news because it's a double stack at elbow, which means that Suther is going to be in trouble here in terms of trying to work his way back in.
Too. Both players have no chance to really try to fight together, so you're hoping that these pop shots from the Sheriff is going to wait. I know. We're good. We're good. Yeah.
For a moment, though, I thought that paint shells was about to get all three.
Same. Wow. I think in a previous version of Raze, potentially.
Yeah. I mean,
might even one-tap them.
They all ran into this exact same radius. It's like, guys, not like this. But a pistol win sends it to 10. It essentially means that this is going to have to be an anti-eco round. Otherwise, we're force buying the rest of the way through at 11-3.
I think it's down to that point. You might even have to just force.
It's tough because they found plans. 2 kills. That's all they got were 2.
And you have no plan to invest it into the Sheriff in the previous round. If you're going for a force buy, it's not going to be the best buy. It's actually going to be Fries. They're at bankrupt.
Not good. All right. This isn't the ball game yet, but it'd be a substantial step towards it. And I think Galorys knows that we need to be careful here, just in case. I think in particular, you got to watch out for the Frenzy, the Shorty. Of course, this Marshall up over towards A Showers could be an issue as well, depending on the timing of these peaks. But realistically speaking, if you're Galorys, you catch one bit of intel and you utilize that. And that Prowler, I believe, does see nags. So this is going to call for the walk up past the poison wall. Delzik trying to play some sort of a counter smoke setup with Suther, but here comes the walk around. Oh, and it's just everything in front of Luke Show, who's not going to whiff. 2 kills down, plant on the way.
Planted.
And there was a chance there with Snowzine's aggressive position with the Marshall to try to funnel those players back. That's what the smoke was there too. And now he's going to have to retake with the Marshall. This is dire straits now for RETA. It's looking to be an 11-3 scoreline for Galorys. And potentially even converting into a Black Light Flawless. The last 2 players, Nagson and Maurice, holding back towards the spawn, trying to go for exits, trying to die to Spike, because you definitely do not want to give more ult orbs to 3 players currently that's been owning in this series. Luke Show a little bit more in the second map versus the first, but Sato and Irango, all of them pretty much at halfway point, already into their ults. And then when you're in a lead now by 8 rounds, it's only a matter of time that these ults are going to bring a lot of value into your side of the attack for Galorys to close this out into a split 0.
Yeah. Wow. Oh boy. After the stun on their own map selection, RETA has provided very little in terms of contest here in map number 2. Bonus on the way. RETA's going to have to talk about a lot. Flat out. And most importantly, not only do you need to win this round, you need to do it convincingly. You need to start getting some ults built up. You need to get the eco really set in stone, because you do not want to be in a spot where you're possibly looking at your tournament life. Don't want to say it for sure because, again, tiebreakers, but very possibly your tournament life could be on the line of having to force buy and take wins. So this is a very important round towards at least getting something going in the right direction.
It's so hard in this moment right now for RETA with this timeout, because you haven't gotten you haven't had a chance really to play any attack rounds in your favor. So the strat that you're trying to discuss here with your team is not necessarily on how you could anti or understand how Galorys currently plays the map today. You have to fall back into the last notes of how Galorys played in the past. But if they change their side something slightly different, which seems to be the case with how Sato's been very aggressive on the defensive side, then it kind of throws you for a loop. And what other surprises do you have now for Galorys on the attack side, right? And Sato, despite for Galorys' loss against TSM on this very map, Sato still popped off. There was a loss that happened in overtime for Galorys, where Sato went like 8-2 in terms of first bloods and first deaths, and Galorys is going to continue to try to leverage that here on their attack side to be the tip of the spear here to open things up on a B-side lead.
Well, Prowler sees Nags again. This has been a reoccurrence over these first 3 rounds in this second half. Utilities follow up just to be sure. Boombot not going to fully get in towards Garden. But RETA, they're trying to hold the front line from inside of these forward kind of smoke positions. Now they have to force the fight over towards Long. Good shot starting to come through from Sato. Follow-up should surely take care of Suther. And to make matters worse, Nags, whoa, hold on a second. I was gonna say, he's also being hit by the snake bite, down to 31 HP, but he does at least take 2. Maybe a chance for more. Good prediction towards Rude, but it doesn't make a difference. Galorys will take the bonus, and now it just feels like an inevitable circumstances have made their way into the forefront of our conversations.
Yeah, I was about to say, for better, it was actually played against Ascent because they almost made that possible there against that push happening from Hookah. But when they've lost so many players on that fight towards Long B, a 2 versus 2 that actually went in that side that went to a victory on the side of Galorys, there's that extra body coming through here on that split to the B side that was just too overwhelming for Nagsit. So unfortunately here, RETA at a point where they might have to, what the Des was mentioning, just sit in the sidelines, fingers crossed. That map differential, route differential will give him a chance here to make it into playoffs. So far though, it's before going into those stats. Down to the players, and Suther doesn't want to go down yet. A nice little opening kill is going to force the hand of Galorys to try to peek out towards Hookah. Would manage to escape out of that, get information on top of that too, and force a rotate of 3 players. A stronghold now towards B. A jump spot for Marines, that spots 2 more.
Oh, and I mean, are we joking? We're just pushing right through that. Sato, Paint Shells, gets his own trade. 4v3 situation. Mid still
Sounds
being owned by RETA. 2-2 split, and Durango, if he can get this, yep, Thrash is going to be earned. The only question will be if he takes this teleporter and joins over through showers, it means that there will be this 1v1 between Evil and Snow.
Tried to go for a fake here, a la Dead Zone.
Get out of here.
Or Dark Zero, rather, just throwing the wingman into the B side to try to fake that, but the wall was good enough to make them understand that the fake did happen. But nonetheless, Galorys still gets the opener within the A side, and Thrash is available for Rocco.
Offensive smokes will make this really difficult for RETA to move their way back in. Thrash at the ready, over towards U-Haul. Support is here. Rude just holding over the top of the corner. RETA taking their time, breaking down as the smokes will dissipate. Molly's out. Thrash immediately denied. Now the defense, a chance to try to step forward. Defensive Molly gets thrown over towards the cross corner. Good team shots coming through, leading Rude by himself. Plenty of health to play off of, plus the angle. There's the tap. And it's going to be Day06 with the Guardian through the corner to finish things off. RETA will stay alive, but again, the economy is not great.
Oh yeah, it's going to be the name of the story right now. They're going to have to throw up the whole half, pretty much. You're going in for a half buys. You're going to have players with Guardians, just like Maurice did on that last round. And yeah, it looked like it was going to be a throwing play that we just saw right here, but the wall was actually activated behind him. He had to make some sort of play. It's exactly in these moments where it's dire. Your back's against the wall. You're about to lose this series. You just feel the pressure of having to make a play. And thankfully, he was able to get a 1-for-1 to give a chance here for the post plant to happen for the retake for the defensive side. But it was trying to mention before here with Dark Zero, Stellar did one of those calls too where it was throwing that windman towards that B site, and he went for an A site hit after. And it did work out though to open things up and get the picks here towards the A site. They just couldn't pull back a 2 versus 3 in the end with the Molly that was available from both.
Showstopper coming out. Lots of forward pressure and the 1v1 towards Showers. That would have been pivotal for RETA to hold on to the site at least somewhat defensively, but instead Day06 takes care of a couple of low health pools. Double in his day. Offense weak. Orbital strike to clear out U-Haul. Here's the issue. You still have the ability for Sato to hold this corner. And on top of that, the crossfire setup for Root is good. So now it's just down to everyone hold their angles. Guiding Light is through. Evil at range finds another pick. Just down the Maurice. 1v3 situation. Has to have it. Haunt denied. Maurice. Prowler out. Not going to be able to stay alive from that as Sato finds elimination, and Galorys will 2-0 RETA and at least force a couple of teams into a tiebreaker situation.
Oh man, you could definitely see it, how happy they are in the camp of Galorys. Again, starting things off at an 0-2 in terms of record to start things off, to kick things off in the VCT Ascensions Americas in Mexico, and they turned it around into the later halves. A very tough schedule that they've had so far, and having to play against some tough teams so far for Galorys. And you know, you were expecting for this #1 seed for Galorys to come in strong, and then it instilled some doubts into, can they actually make it past the top 4?
Yeah.
But now for all those fans in South America that's been watching and praising this roster of Galorys and how good they could be and what they were known for, I definitely started seeing that in the last few matches here of this roster.
I think the thing too is it's not just the, you know, the collective skill is starting to really kind of showcase, because like we said, it's been a lot of Sato, a lot of Luke Show that we were kind of praising, especially the matchup they played versus M80. But were they hiding map picks? You know, is there a level of that with Ascent in the mix? The improvement that they just showed right here on Bind after losing it the other day, already significant in the nature of them being a more well-rounded squad, because when they were playing maps like Breeze and things like that, that was their strong suit. We didn't really know what map was going to be their strong point moving into this series and this overall event, but now we're starting to get an idea. But the desk is standing by. We'll be back for our second matchup, but now time for our breakdown.
Very nice win on the side of Galorys, and it has to feel good for this team. You could tell how excited they were of getting this win, and it was important for them to win 2-0 as well. They just made the first step into what could be them making it to playoffs, and it was domination, specifically on this map of Vine, a 13-5 that they're, or 13-4, I believe, that they were able to get away with against RETA. And even from RETA, Emily, the frustration from his nose in towards the end.
I know, but he's rightful so. He wanted it so bad, but when you were looking at Galorys' faces, they were just laughing and having a good time throughout the game. And right here was actually after a round where Sato just had an insane whole map. I pressed tab at some point, I think it was round 10, and he had 17 kills already, and the next person had 8. So he had a really good game, and they were doing what I said they needed to do. Just control the pace. They really played their game to the best of their ability, and they were doing a really good job on using their util. They were peaking together. They weren't doing 1-by-1s, and RETA, unfortunately for them, they just weren't ready for that. And look at the post plans, 4 out of 5 won. In comparison to RETA, 3 out of 8, exactly what I was saying. They just couldn't hold the retakes from Galorys.
It's hard for RETA, because when they struggle like this, it's so difficult to see this team that we sometimes see do quite the opposite. But it's great for Galorys though, Roy, because this is the win that we mentioned they needed, and this is just the start of that 5-way tie that we might end up ourselves in at the end of the day.
Dryad, you and I are in sync right now. This second map win was exactly what Galorys needed to increase their chances for playoff clinch. I mean, also, this is the Galorys that we've been expecting all tournament, and I'm glad they were able to display it towards the end. Now it's just a waiting game. Like, we need to see all the matches unfold. Everyone's got their fingers crossed. They're all stressed. I'm sure no one's going to be eating anytime soon, but it's going to be a pretty magical day, I think.
It's shaping up to be that way. We get to see once again Sato, the guy that we talked about for the last couple of days. We saw finding some success on the kills department, but it was not enough to close out these series and these maps. And today, I mean, what an impact that he had, Emily. 24-9 that he ends up this map with, 368 ACS.
Oh my god, that ACS is huge. He has been consistent like this throughout the entire group stage, so I'm happy for him. Like Roy was saying, that they actually took the wins in the last 2 matches, which really mattered, and it's going to be so fun for the rest of the day to see how it's going to play out. I was a hater on the Fade, but actually it worked out for them, because they were peeking and utilizing the Fade util on the perfect timing and not just throwing it to throw it. So, you know what? Good for them, and good map picks overall, and they won 2-0, so good for them.
Yeah, it's great to see. And for Galorys, I'm assuming that there's always going to be those people asking, what are they going to take again? We don't know until the very end of the day. I believe they needed to get this win 2-0, and the next step is for All Knights to lose 2-0. So that is not even guaranteed because it is the 5-way tie that we're talking about. So it might be a possibility that we see that, Roy. Honestly, I love the KOs, so I really want to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to remind us that we have a match before that last one, so we have to have 2G play M80 next. That is going to be a really interesting game. Of course, M80 has been the most dominant team. That's going to be coming up here shortly, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's an M80 going against 2 game, and with the way that M80 has been looking, there's a good chance that they can get away with that win, and that would also help into the narrative that we're building, that everybody needs to keep watching until the very end of the day. But we're going to throw a break, we're going to have an interview, and then when we come back, we'll talk about that second match.
Embarrassing gaming moment? I think just one that I was like scratching my nose from the other angle. It looked like I was scratching inside my nose, but it wasn't. So I think this one, and it was in the start of the first split, I think, in this year. It was kind of embarrassing, yeah.
I was in the first strike Brazil event, the first one, and we got like 13-0 in the match. Fate was with me in that moment, so I guess that's it.
Absurdo! Que seria difícil? Que será impossível?
I would probably say like every time I whiff on stream, it like a little bit of my soul crumbles. So I think every single time I whiff on stream, that kind of hurts my pride, you know.
Olha isso! Ele atira andando!
I mean, it's not embarrassing in a funny way. It's embarrassing because it was really embarrassing. It haunting me to this day. It's when I was still a player and we lost the final of the first master to Australs, and we were playing in Weigers with Kesnit and not my former my teammate Suter. We were playing for Weigers at that time. We lost 3-0, so it was pretty tough because we were the favorites in some way.
Probably my whiff against Paper X in Iceland. That was pretty embarrassing.
They never make mistakes.
He just got 2 kills in mid, by the way. This kill, well, yes, might be impactful.
Kill them now!
He knew!
I don't know, it's not really like embarrassing, it was more sad, but like losing to the guard last year when like we got #1 seed both years, like we just couldn't keep up the form at like an international like fully. I mean, second's still good, but like we obviously really wanted to win. Like it was pretty like, I guess, embarrassing because like people were like thinking very highly of us when we were going into it, and we just didn't show up when it mattered fully. So this year will be different.
I think it was 13-0. We lost a lot back in 2022 Challengers. We actually were playing our best map. I think we never lost a map before, apart from the problem we had in Champions with Breeze. And then we played Loud and they absolutely crushed us like 13-0. 13-0, 13-1 maybe. I'm not 13-1. I think it was at least not 13-0. It always was like very embarrassing for us.
Ele contra 3. Acerta o primeiro de Marshall. Será que dá pra passar? Mas não.